All right, turning it over to you, Sam, to get us started here.
All right, thanks, Deborah. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming today. It's good to see everyone here. Um, I call the June 20th meeting of the PAS Technical Group to order at 9:31 a.m. And as Deborah had previously requested, some people may have joined us since then. If you could all change your Zoom name to your first and last name in the library, that would be really helpful for Meg when taking the minutes. So we'd appreciate that. And also when you speak up, please also say your name and library so that can be recorded as well. Thanks, everybody. So first off, are there any additions that anyone would like to make to the agenda? I'm not seeing anything come up in the chat either, so I take that as a no. So then the next step will be approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any revisions to the draft minutes that were sent over last week? So I suppose that's a no as well. So then, hearing none, if the minutes are approved by unanimous consent as distributed. Thank you. All right, we do not have any officer reports for this meeting. So I will move on to the CCS staff reports. I'll turn it back over to Deborah.
Thanks, Sam. Have a few updates for the group today. Pull up my PowerPoint. First is I want to welcome a new CCS staff member and introduce her to you today. Gayatri Shah started last week as our new user experience specialist. Gayatri is coming to us after recently completing her master's degree in UX design, research, and strategy at IIT. And she has really strong user research skills that we're going to put to work immediately on some of our projects for this upcoming year. So if you see Gayatri working with you on tickets and run across her at meetings, please give her a warm welcome. So again, she's here today. This is her very first CCS technical group meeting. So she is getting up to speed on all things CCS in these coming weeks. So we are, again, really thrilled to share that she has joined the team.
Hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm super excited to be here and also excited to attend this meeting and get to know all the processes and everybody in this meeting to better. So yes, thanks for the warm welcome, Deborah. Really appreciate it.
We're so excited for Gayatri. She's going to be working on some really fun projects that we have upcoming. So again, give her a warm welcome when you see her. So again, thanks Gayatri for joining us today. Next up, as many of you know, we are adding 2 new libraries this year, Mont Prospect and Waukegan. So the CCS team and staff at Mont Prospect and Waukegan are kind of furiously preparing for their go live in the fall. So currently they are scheduled to go live in CCS on October 1st of this year, which means that the offline period for both those 2 new libraries and our existing CCS libraries will fall over that last weekend in September. So watch CCS News for additional details about that project as we get closer to the fall, which again it's going to be right around the corner. So we're really excited to have those libraries join our team. And just checking, do we have anyone here today from either library? We do. We have Ann Belden, who is the Deputy Director at Mont Prospect, is here with us today. So Ann, welcome back to CCS. I know you've had a long history with CCS libraries already, so it's great to see you back in the fold along with the rest of the team. Also wanted to give a quick update on where we're at with Find More Illinois. So as many of you know, CCS joined Find More Illinois as a full consortia earlier or at the end of last year. So we are working to get all of our libraries up and running on the new tool. We currently have 8 libraries that have gone live on Find More through May and through June. And then we'll have most of our remaining libraries launch next month through August. August is kind of our big month where we have the bulk of our libraries beginning to use that platform. So many of you here have already attended training led by CCS and by Rails, but we do have a few sessions coming up that I wanted to bring to this group in case you're interested. We have 2 Introduction to Find More Illinois sessions remaining. We have one actually this afternoon at 2 p.m. and then another on August 6th also at 2 p.m. In these intro sessions, we kind of give a high-level overview of Find More and the project, and then we walk through how to search and how to place holds both as a patron and as a staff member if you have a staff account. So I think those sessions might be relevant to the staff here in this group who might be helping patrons use the tool and or helping them place holds. So again, those are virtual sessions and we have 2 of them remaining. Now, if you can't make either of those sessions or, you want to go to one sooner, we do have recordings of our previous training sessions on YouTube. So we've been recording all of the virtual webinars and posting them to our YouTube channel. So we do have those sessions available on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to pop the link into the chat here. Okay, it's not letting me paste it into the chat. Mieko, if you are here, would you mind grabbing the links to both those training registrations and to our YouTube channel just to pop them in the chat for staff who might be interested? Thank you in advance for doing that. Let's pause and see if any other questions pop in. Michelle, hopefully that answered yours. We do have them on our website. So you can check out, again, our YouTube channel to find the recordings of the past webinars. I also wanted to give an update, a CCS update on the statewide database package and how that might impact CCS services. Long story short, very, very little. So the statewide database package does include Novelist at a base level. So CCS, as part of your membership, we do provide Novelist, Novelist Plus, Novelist Select, and Library Aware. So beginning with the statewide database package, Novelist will be kind of core Novelist will be covered through that package, but CCS is planning to keep our subscription for Plus, Select, and Library Aware for the next year. We're getting some adjusted pricing to reflect that Novelist. The base level of Novelist will now be covered again under that statewide EBSCO package. So just an update for this group. You won't see any changes to the Novelist services that are available to you. We're going to, again, continue on with those additional Novelist services, including Plus, Select, and Library Aware for the remainder of the next year at minimum. Also, nice work, everybody. I'm sure you're all very busy trying to navigate that situation. So keep on keeping on there. All right, and that is the end of my updates. I'm going to pause and see if I've got any questions in the chat. Thank you, Mieko, for popping in the registration links to those upcoming Find More webinars. All right, if no more updates, Sam, I'm going to turn it back to you for the next agenda item.
All right, thanks so much, Deborah. So next we'll discuss a bit of old business. So this is the last meeting of the fiscal year here, so it rounds out our current officers' time. So we're still looking for volunteers to serve as secretary and vice chair for the next fiscal year. Henriette Algonquin will serve as the chair going forward. So the vice chair and chair-elect will fill in for the chair by facilitating a PAS meeting if the chair is unable to attend. So you're just reading the agenda kind of like I do now. They will become the chair the following year as well. The secretary takes notes during the meeting, compiles the minutes, and then sends the drafted minutes out to the listserv with the support of CCS and the other officers. So those are pretty straightforward roles that we're looking for. Do we have any volunteers from the group today that would like to serve in either position? Looks like resounding silence right now. That's okay. We will, keep soliciting. And, if anybody has any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can reach out to Henry or Deborah. I'm sure everyone would be happy to answer any questions you might have about the roles. All
And
right.
Actually, Sam, if you don't mind, I was just going to chime in really fast.
Yeah, of course. Please.
So if anybody is thinking about the positions, I've done both secretary and vice secretary now, getting right, or vice chair, getting ready to be chair. It's not a large time commitment, so if you're interested, don't let that hold you back. It's a great thing to either put on a resume or just to get some experience in. And the CCS staff is great with kind of walking you through the responsibilities and getting you the experience. So even if you think it's something you might have to do in the future, this is a great way to get the experience with people guiding you through the process rather than just kind of being tossed in and having to learn on the fly. CCS is great about supporting you. So just putting a bit of my 2 cents out there. It's really a great experience and not a big time commitment at all. So thanks, Sam.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for jumping in, Henry.
Yeah.
That was a concern of mine as well before taking on an officer role was I don't have time for this. So how does anyone make time in our positions? But it's really not a large time commitment at all. It's no problem. If you're coming to the meetings, you're already spending that time anyway, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. So thank you. Okay.
I was gonna say,
Again,
I'm also gonna chime in. It's Meg. I have also done all of these before. And yes, I definitely agree. It's not a huge time commitment. It's CCS pretty much helps hold your hand through the whole thing. Even being, I would say, like, of all them, being secretary is the most time consuming because you have to do the minutes. But even with that, like, usually the CCS gives you a detailed annotated agenda beforehand. So it's literally filling in blanks and then just kind of going over it. So if people have questions about that, I've done that before as well. I'd also like to throw out there that if there's people who are kind of like, I don't know if I want to do all 4 meetings, we absolutely have historically split secretary into 2 positions. So then you're only committing to having to do it twice during the year. So just throwing that out there as well. So maybe if we've got 2 people who are like, oh, I could maybe do half of it. Like, we've done that before too.
I
Thank
see
you
in
so
the
much,
chat,
Henry.
Emily's like thinking about the secretary position, but we'll confirm next week. So hooray for Emily. You can reach out to me, Emily, if you get the go ahead from your supervisor. You were a secretary a long time ago. So just like getting back to your roots here, while we were still on Cersei, that seems like 1,000 lifetimes ago, but it really wasn't that long. So then that would kind of leave that vice chair position. Again, that first year, you're really just there to support the chair, in case they can't make it. So next year, the chair is going to be Henry. So, do it for Henry. He's going to be an awesome chair. And then that will give you sort of a year to learn the ropes before you would have to be chair yourself. So if you have questions, if you want to, give me a call, I can set up a meeting to talk through it. Happy to walk you through, the whole process if it's something you're considering. And thank you. This is the last meeting for Sam as our chair and for Meg as our secretary. So just shout out to both of you for just the awesome work that you've done over this past year. You both make it look very easy. So thank you again for your work.
Thank you so much, Deborah. So then we will move on to new business for this month. So I'm going to turn it back over to Deborah again to talk about some of the Polaris features that are coming up.
All right, so we recently upgraded our training database to Polaris 7.6. We are tentatively planning a production upgrade for sometime between August and September. We definitely are going to upgrade production prior to the Mount Prospect and Waukegan launch at the end of September. So again, we're looking at kind of August, September, depending on our project work. There are a few new features coming in Polaris 7.6 that I think this group would be interested in. Those include the ability to import a file of ISBNs into a bib record set, some improvements or changes for display of ISBNs in the Find tool, and the ability to search for a list of ISBNs in the Find tool as well. And then the ability to complete item bulk changes ad hoc, so not needing a item record set to complete an item bulk change. So I'm going to walk through these features and give you a preview of what they look like. So first, importing a file of ISBNs into a record set. Previously, Polaris only allowed staff to import patrons and items into record sets. But with 7.6, you will also now be able to import a file of ISBNs into a bib record set in either text, CSV, or Excel file format. So this might be really useful for this group when it comes to creating content like carousels, which again, pull from bib record sets. So I'm going to pull up Leap so I can just give you a quick demo of what that's going to look like. Give me 1 minute here for Leap to load. Okay, so in Leap, I'm going to go ahead and use my new menu to create a new record set. For the record set type, I'm going to select bibliographic record set and click OK. I'm going to go ahead and name my record set. Let's say I'm going to make a summer reading record set so that I can add a carousel or a link to a list from my catalog and my website. So I'm going to create, again, that summer reading record set, and I'm going to click Save. Now with 7.6, a little bit, under the Actions menu, we'll now see a new option to add from file. And again, this functionality already existed in item record sets and patron record sets, and now is being added to bib record sets as well. When I click Add from File, I'm going to be asked to find the file of ISBNs that I want to import into this record set. So I'm going to go ahead and click Select File. Whoop, and you will see all of my many files I have on my computer. But I'm going to find my summer reading list file and open it. Once I've opened that file, I will then select the column in my file that contains the ISBN information. So I happen to have a file that contains title, author, and ISBN. So I'm going to go ahead and select column 3, which again is the column that contains that ISBN information. Once I've done that, I'll click Add from File. And we'll see all of the titles and ISBNs listed in that Excel file now imported into my record set. At which point I can save. And now if I wanted to, I can create a link to this record set to share again in a newsletter on my website, or I can choose to potentially add a carousel to my catalog. Now you will notice here that you may see multiple records for the same title. And that's because when you import by ISBN, it is pulling every record that contains that ISBN into the record set. So for some of these titles, you might see perhaps an ebook. Maybe I would want to delete that. Maybe I only want this record set to have physical materials. I can easily use the checkboxes next to each title to remove content I don't want to appear in this record set. So I see a chat. Ooh, Emily says this is fabulous. Yes, love to hear that. Hopefully it makes your life a little bit easier. So rather than adding, bib records one by one to a record set or needing to add records from the find tool in batch. Hopefully this just makes it a lot easier. You know, I'm sure you can download Excel files from your vendor of, for example, new titles that might contain ISBN information. So again, hopefully this will make your lives just a little bit easier once we upgrade to 7.6. Any questions on this one? Hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. Hopefully, again, once we upgrade in a couple months, you'll take full advantage of this. All right, the next update I wanted to share are some changes that will happen with the LEAP Find tool. So you will now have the ability to display ISBN information in your Find tool results. So previously, ISBN was not a field that would display in your Find tool search results, but again, with 7.6, they've added that in if this is a field that is useful to you to see in your Find tool search results. To enable this setting, you will open your Find tool column settings and then check the box next to ISBN. You're able to move the field up or down to kind of select your preferred location for that field in your search results. Again, this is optional to enable. By default, it will be disabled. But if you would like to enable the display of ISBN once we're live on 7.6, you can easily do that through, again, those Find tool column settings. One other update to the Find tool that I wanted to call attention to was the ability to search in the Find tool by not just a single ISBN, but a list of ISBNs. So with 7.6, again, they've made it much easier to search for multiple ISBNs at a time without needing to conduct a power search. To search by a list of ISBNs, you'll open your Find tool, select bibliographic record as your search database, select a basic search type, ISBN, and then select list. So just know that the list must be comma separated in order to search by it. So let me see. I can just demo this for you. Back to LEAP, give me just 1 second. I don't know how often you will want to search by a list, but I bet you there is some scenario in which this might be helpful. So I'm going to open up my Find tool in LEAP. I'm going to search by bibliographic record. Instead of searching by all keyword fields, I'm going to search by ISBN. And rather than search for a single ISBN using the exact search function, I'm going to select list. Now here, I'm going to paste my comma separated list of ISBNs and initiate my search. And again, here we go. I'm able to pull up a list again of all of the records that match my list of ISBNs. So this might be a helpful tool for you in the future if, again, you commonly just need to search for multiple records at a time. Seven 7.6 will also add the ability to complete ad hoc item bulk changes from the Find tool and from the bibliographic record. I see a question. Does list only apply for ISBN searching, or does it work for the other types of searches as well? Right now, this only applies to ISBN searching, though there are ways to search for multiple records at a time for other record types using a power search. So maybe if we have time at the end, I can show you how to do that if that's something you might be interested in. And if you're interested in list search for multiple record types, that might be a great thing to add to the idea exchange, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So going back to the ad hoc item bulk change, 7.6 is going to add the ability to complete those bulk changes to items, both from the Find tool and from the bibliographic record. Now, previously in LEAP, staff were only able to complete bulk changes if they were working from an item record set. So now this is going to eliminate the need to use a record set for, smaller bulk changes. So let me pull back up Training Leap so I can show you what that looks like. And I know there are staff in here that do some bulk changes themselves. So let's go ahead and walk through that. First, I'm just going to open up a bibliographic record. So let's just say that let's say I just wanted to move a couple of these items to a different shelf location. Maybe, we're making a special summer reading shelf location for materials that are on our summer reading list. So we want to move a handful of items to that new location. And I just really want to easily be able to do it right here from the bib record. This is kind of a bad example because each of these libraries only has one copy on here, but let's just pretend that my library has 3 copies. To make the bulk change from here, I just have to check the box next to the copies I want to bulk change and click this new bulk change button that you'll see appear here at the top of the list. When I click that bulk change button, it's going to bring up that item record bulk change screen, at which point I can make the changes that I want to, including maybe shelf location. Maybe I want to change the material type. Maybe you're denewing stuff and you're like, oh, these copies slipped by and we need to denew them. You can again change the material type, the shelf location, the loan period, and so on. So again, previously you had to put these items into a record set to make a bulk change or change multiple items at once, but now you can just do it right here from the bib record.
Can I
You'll also,
jump in?
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. I'm on a phone, so typing out my comment is tricky.
Totally understand.
This looks great. Just to share, we have our Battle of the Books collection, or kind of pull out collections that change year by year in youth services. And so we, at the staff level, and we don't allow everyone to do this, but at the staff level, your permissions do allow for changing or adding a suffix onto a call number. And so that helps us zero in on an item's location when we have 1 or 2 copies in the general JFIC and then 8 or 9 copies in the Battle of the Books shelving space. And that's a temporary location because at the end of the season, the battle list changes and the call numbers need to change. So this is going to be a really nice way that we can update items in bulk without, well, the bulk feature is helpful. Just to say, this looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really handy. I know this is a feature I commonly use a lot in the staff client, or staff use in the staff client, is you're just like, oh, I don't, you just like change them right there from the record or even the find tool. And it just eliminates the need to make a record set that then you just want to delete right away. So it's, I think, a little bit of a time saver. So you'll also be able to do the same thing from the find tool. So if let's just say I'm going to search for, an item record, and let's just say, I'm searching for Barbie and I notice like, oh, these copies of Barbie are marked as new, and now they actually need to just be on our regular shelf location. If you search for the title in the find tool and you see like, oops, I'm Niles and I really need to, update these copies because they're wrong, you can just select each record here in the item record find tool. And again, we now have this new bulk change button appear at the bottom of the find tool where you can make the bulk change right there from the find tool without, again, needing to create a record set to make a small bulk change to a few items. So again, then you'll go ahead, complete your item record bulk change window and update the items as needed. So it's adding, again, some additional functionality to be on par with the staff client. This is already something that can be done in that interface. So now they're making it available here in Leap as well. So hopefully, if you are someone who updates item records, this might make your life just a little bit easier. Pause, any questions? So I will say, if this is something you're interested in playing around, feel free just to hop in our training database. Again, it's already on 7.6, so you'll have access to these new features there. So if you want to test them out, just visit our training Leap instance, and you can play around and see how it will fit into your existing workflows. So that brings me to the end of our 7.6 updates. So Sam, I'm just going to keep rolling here and move into a review of the idea exchange. So many of you are familiar with the previous Idea Lab, which now has morphed into, or evolved, I would say, into the Idea Exchange. Idea Exchange is Innovative's platform to kind of crowdsource and prioritize development features. So any staff member can create an account for Idea Exchange to comment and rank the priority of development ideas submitted by staff across the world who are Polaris customers. You can comment on these existing ideas, you can rank them, so critical, important, nice to have, or you can even submit development ideas of your own. So you can find Idea Exchange at ideas.triplei.com. And if you don't already have an account, I really strongly encourage you to sign up for one so that you can go through the Polaris ideas and again, begin commenting and voting on them. Now, previously, Innovative or the Idea Lab team would release challenges a couple of times a year, and library staff would help prioritize ideas by voting on which ones they thought should be developed. IUG introduced a new enhancement process that kind of replaces that prior prioritization process, and this new one is called MEEP. It's called Member Exclusive Enhancement Process. And they started this new MEEP enhancement process back in December of 2023. And here's kind of how that works, because it is different from the previous Idea Lab process. So Innovative and the IUG Steering Committee, and IUG is the Innovative Users Group. It's a group run by Innovative customers that use Innovative products. So IUG has created working groups for each tool. So there is a Polaris working group. And those groups go through Idea Exchange, read through all of the ideas, and they select the ideas that they believe are most important to develop based on, again, comments, votes, rankings, and so on. They send those ideas, the group of ideas they've selected, onto the Innovative development team. Innovative then sizes or assigns points to each of those ideas that were sent to them by the working group. And then I would say, I don't quite know the cadence yet, but once or twice a year, Innovative members are then asked to vote to prioritize ideas for implementation. Now, this is a change because prior to this new enhancement process, anyone with an Idea Lab account could vote and participate in the prioritization process, but it is now limited to just those customers that are members of IUG. So in the instance of CCS is a member of IUG, so we get one vote in each prioritization process that's released. And if your library is an individual customer or an individual member of IUG as well, your library also will have the opportunity to vote as well. So we do have some of our libraries that have purchased an individual membership to IUG. I believe it's somewhere around like $140. I think they have some pricing tiers based on your size, but again, only IUG members are able to vote now in this prioritization process. However, there is a real benefit to this process because Innovative has committed to developing all of the winning ideas within 12 months. So previously with Idea Lab, ideas won, they were selected, and sometimes they then sat there for several years without actually being developed. So with this new process, Innovative has a contract with IUG that they will again develop the winning ideas within a year. So like I mentioned, this new MEP process is replacing the previous Idea Lab prioritization process, but has some pros and has some cons to it. So the first round of MEP voting was conducted earlier this year, and I think this group will be very interested in the winning ideas, which will be developed and implemented in 7.7, which should be coming out in Q4 of this year. So I'm thinking probably sometime around October. The winning 5 ideas are here on your screen. The first one is the ability to create a record set from saved or scheduled reports in Simply Reports. So if you're a Simply Reports user, many of you know that you can choose to send your results to a record set in Polaris. But if you have a saved or scheduled report, it doesn't do that. So it doesn't update a record set every time the report runs. However, coming in 7.7, that will now be an option. So if you want to create an auto updating record set, again, based off of a report that you run in Simply Reports, you'll be able to do that with 7.7. So I think that's going to be a really cool feature for, let's say, maybe record cleanup. So maybe, you know, you want to create a record set again, like to denew your new book. So you want to like create a report in Simply Reports to find things that are new and have been there for more than 6 months. You can run that every month. Polaris will auto update a record set, and you can use that record set to complete bulk changes. One of the next features coming in 7.7 are accessibility shortcuts. So this is a feature that has been asked for frequently by especially our catalogers. So they'll be adding some additional shortcut keys to LEAP for common work form actions, like closing a work form, returning to your results, etc. And that will allow staff to kind of reduce dependency on your mouse and use keyboard shortcuts instead. The next feature that will be coming in 7.7 is the ability to select multiple items or chunks of items in the Find tool using Shift-Click. This is going to be great, I think. So instead of having to click in your Find tool, like each record individually, you will be able to just use your Shift key to select a range of records to then add them to a record set, do a bulk change, whatever you might need to do with those. This is something that has been asked for years now, so we are really excited to see this coming to LEAP again in 7.7 later this year. Now, the one I'm most excited to share with this group, because we have talked about this, I feel like so much since we went live on Polaris, but they will be adding the ability to view your recent search history in the LEAP Find tool and then click to reinitiate that search. So yes, I see this area, and I knew you were going to be really excited about this because we talked about it at our March meeting and everyone was like, can we just have this, please? So it is coming now. So if you are searching in the Find tool, you accidentally close out of the Find tool, you will be able to reopen it, see your recent history, and then relaunch that same search. So I'm super excited about this one because I feel like it's gonna really address a need that we've been asking for many years now. So super excited about this one. And then the last one is going to make non-blocking circulation blocks optional. So for this one, we'll be able to disable non-blocking circulation notes and suppress at the time of checkout things like the patron has held items or the patron owes 10 cents. So we'll be able to disable sort of those messages that pop up that really aren't true blocks, but are rather more informational than actual blocking messages. So once we see that in action, we'll kind of see how we want to set up this setting. But I know we've heard from library staff that we don't really want to see that they have held items, block up at the time of checkout, because sometimes it distracts staff from the actual blocking messages that come up in LEAP. So that will be, again, a feature coming with 7.7. So again, highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to sign up. Where'd we go? To sign up for an Idea Exchange account. That URL is ideas.iii.com. Even if your library isn't a member of IUG, you'll be able at least to comment and add ideas to Idea Exchange that then could be considered for future development if selected by the working group. So highly encourage everyone to get involved. Okay, I think that brings me to the end then of sort of my innovative updates. So Sam, again, I'm just going to keep rolling. I'm just talking a lot this meeting. So I apologize to everyone who has to listen to my voice for an hour. But we're just going to move on to the next activity, which is talking about a new circulation report that we are building. So we're going to give a demo today and conduct an activity to gather some feedback from all of you. So Bob has been working on an initial report prototype in Tableau that will allow a library to look at their circulation numbers in lots of different ways, by material type, by hour, by day of the week, and so on. So today we are going to give you a demo and then ask you for your feedback on what you like about it, what you think could be improved, and we're going to ask for your ideas of what else we can do with the tool. How can we make the tool more valuable for you? And then we'll use all of the feedback that you give us to help us guide our future development. So Mieko is going to give a short, 5 to 10 minute demonstration of this new report prototype that Bob has built. So while she's giving her demo, just go ahead, grab a pen, grab a notepad, and jot down your thoughts. So I'm going to ask you when we're done to share what you liked, what you wish, and what you wonder. So again, write down your notes as you're watching Mieko demo, and you'll also be able at that time to ask questions and about the tool itself. After the demo, we're going to give you about 5 minutes to kind of gather your thoughts, and then we will ask you to kind of submit your answers via a forum. And then we'll talk together about your thoughts as a group. So for the I like, I wish, I wonder activity, when you're thinking about things you like, those are things that went well or positive things about the tool that you're going to see in just a few moments. So for example, I like being able to track stats by both day of the week and by hour. So again, these are the things that you're like, oh yeah, that's something I would totally use. I really like that feature. For I wish, these are things that you think maybe could be done differently or improved. So for example, an I wish could be like, oh, I wish the graphs were just pie charts instead of bar charts, or something like that. So this is really like your constructive feedback on what you think might work better over what you're going to see in the demo today. For I wonder, you're going to list either the questions you have about the tool, like, oh, I wonder if it could do this, or you can share your ideas for what you'd like the tool to do in the future. So I wonder if we can set up a report to be emailed to me every month. So again, as you are watching Mieko give her demo, You're going to be just jotting down your ideas for the things you like, the thing you wish you could see maybe change, and then all the things you're wondering about, like what are the possibilities for the future. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mieko, who is gonna get started with that demo.
Okay. Thanks, Deb. Let me share my screen here. So hopefully everyone can now see the application. So as Deborah mentioned, we are using Tableau for our report prototype. If you have used the diversity audit dashboard, it's the same platform. With this sample data I'm going to be demoing, I want you to keep in mind this is limited data. So we are working with a snapshot of data from Algonquin Public Library, covering 1 week in April. And right now I have the tool scoped to just Algonquin, Maine. So the data we're looking at is currently excluding their branch and their drive up. So the prototype, it's looking at checkout data. So things like how many checkouts or your percentage of total checkouts. And the way the data is presented is structured around these dimensions. So dimensions are just how you want to frame and view the data. So for example, we could look at a breakdown of checkouts by patron code, right? So X number of checkouts were to ALK patron, X number of checkouts were to HUK patron. Or we can look at a breakdown of checkouts by day of week. So this percentage of total checkouts happened on Monday, and this percentage of our total checkouts happened on Friday. Right now, I have owning shelf location selected as my dimension. And this is going to break down my checkouts by the items assigned shelf location. And we're able to view the data in either one of these checkout numbers tabs or these checkout graph tabs. So checkout numbers, I'm going to click on this checkout numbers 1 tab. Checkout numbers gives statistics in this numeric format, right? So we have like the raw number and the percentage of total. So here, looking at this data, and let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. So looking at this data here, we can see that during this time frame, we have 599 items from the children's picture books shelf location were checked out, or items from the children's picture books location accounted for almost 13% of our total checkouts at this time. I'm going to go back to, real quick, the checkout graphs area. Let me click on checkout graphs 1. So checkout graphs, it gives a visual representation in the form of a horizontal bar graph. So again, same data, it's just a different way to visualize it. So here we see, that checkouts of children's picture books account for almost 13% of our total checkouts. So now I'm going to go back into the selection tab. So back to our dimensions. We are able to adjust dimensions that display by selecting and deselecting an individual dimension. So I'm just going to click on this owning shelf location to deselect. And then instead, I'm going to click on transaction day to select it as our dimension. So you can see here we've got like some visual indicators of what is selected, what's not selected. Anything with like this little green box indicates it's selected. Anything with a red box indicates it's not selected. We also have the selected dimensions grouped under this true statement, not selected dimensions grouped under a false statement. So now if I've selected a different dimension, so I'm going to go back into the checkout numbers 1 tab. So now my checkout number 1 tab, it gives a breakdown of checkouts by transaction day. So I can see, about 30%, almost 30% of all of our visitors came on Monday, and about a quarter of our checkouts happen on Monday. The default sort is from largest to smallest, right? So this is the data source order, but you can click on this little sort icon next to your dimension to reorganize. So you can either, if I keep clicking here, I was able to sort it alphabetically. I'm now sorting it chronologically. So again, some different ways to sort. If you look up top, both the checkout numbers group and the checkout graph group, they each have 3 tabs. And this is because you can select up to 3 dimensions to display. So let me go back into my selection tab to the dimensions. Right now, I have 1 dimension selected. So I've been looking at the checkout numbers 1 tab and the checkout graph 1 tab. I'm going to select a second dimension. So I'm going to add that owning shelf location back in. So let me just click to select. So now you see here, I have transaction day as my number 1 dimension and owning shelf location as my number 2 dimension. So our data is going to be broken down first by transaction day. And then within that day, it's going to break down my daily checkouts by shelf location. Also, because we are looking at 2 dimensions, I now want to reference the checkout numbers 2 or the checkout graph 2. So we can select up to 3 dimensions to display, and the number of dimensions we're looking at will tell us like what tab we want to reference. So I'm going to click into my checkout numbers 2 tab. So again, I have my statistics broken down first by day, and then within that day, I can see the checkouts broken down by that shelf location. So I can see what are the most popular areas of the library by day of week. Maybe this can help inform what areas I want to prioritize shelving on Sunday, or locations where I can target passive RA. So, maybe I want to put up some new book lists in the adult nonfiction section. I'll go back to selection again. We're going to drill down a little more. I'm going to add a 3rd dimension, and I'm going to add a transaction hour as my 3rd dimension. So now, because we're using 3 dimensions, we can reference the checkout numbers 3 tab or the checkout graph 3 tab. So I'm going to click into checkout numbers 3. Now it's loading. So now this gives a breakdown of checkouts by the transaction day, and then by shelf location, and then by hour. So let me scroll down here to, I want to look at Monday. And let's say within Monday, I want to look at, where is our children's picture books shelf location? There we go. Oops. So I've got my children's picture books. So looking at the children's picture books checkouts on Monday by hour, I can see that about 23% of these checkouts happened during the 1 o'clock hour. So with this, maybe you're looking at ways you can demonstrate the impact of a program. So you can say about a quarter of the day's picture books checkouts happened in the hour after our program ended. Right, so we're breaking down our demo today using shelf location, but as selectors, you may be more attracted to using something like the item stat code, right? So for any of our nonfiction selectors, you can break things down by your Dewey 10. So there's many different ways you can look at this. I also want to mention there's no set hierarchy for the dimensions. It's going to break down the data based on the order you select. So our current breakdown is by day, then by shelf location, then by hour. I'm going to deselect the day and deselect the hour. So now it's breaking down the data by shelf location again. And I'm going to click day. I'm going to re-add the transaction day back in. So now our data is a little flipped from when we first looked at it. So now before we were breaking it down primarily by day and then by shelf location, now because of the order in which we clicked or which we selected our dimensions, we're breaking down primarily by shelf location and then by day. So let's go into the checkout numbers 2 tab so we can take a look at this. And I'm going to scroll down. Let's find our genealogy shelf location. So we've got our drill down 1 is genealogy, or I'm sorry, shelf location, and our drill down 2 is by day of the week. The percentage total count is now going to break down the checkouts, the items from the genealogy shelf location by day of week, right? So 60% happen on Saturday, 20% each happen on Tuesday and Monday. So, you know, another way that you could use this report is to pick up on any kind of patterns. So if you're consistently seeing that like Mondays and Tuesdays are big days for genealogy, like maybe that's a perfect time to schedule some genealogy focused programming. So again, I'm working with the same data. It's just a different way of breaking it down and organizing it. The final thing I want to show you in the demo is this filters. Let me decrease here a little bit. Okay, this filters and fields tab. So this tab is where you can filter and refine the data you're working with. With Simply Reports, as many of you know, there is no effective way of isolating checkouts from renewals when you're working with your checkout statistics. But in this prototype, by using filters, you can specify if you want to include renewals or not. So right now I have, is a renewal set to no? This is just looking at checkouts. And if you are a multi-branch library, if there is a certain location you want to focus on, you can use the filter to just look at your main location, just look at your branch location, or just focus on maybe your drive-up location. So I will say also, like when we move into our activity, think about like what kind of filters would be helpful for you to have access to. Consider these dimensions if there are any not listed here that would be helpful for you. So this is a brief look at the report prototype, the structure, how you can interact with the data, how the data is presented. So I am going to stop sharing my screen, but I can reshare at any point if there is something that you wanted to see. And I will turn this back over to Deborah for the activity.
Perfect. First, I'm going to just pause and see if you have questions or anything else you want me to go to demo. Hopefully your brains are spinning. You will have so many ideas for what you might like to see. We're really excited that, you know, this might be something we can offer you in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put.
I had a question, just
Yeah.
really quick. I just wanted to clarify, because when I was seeing the renewal feature, does that mean that the checkout data is including automatic renewals, or is it just physical checkouts in your library? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so in, let's say, Leap, if you're looking at checkouts of an item, it does currently include sort of that initial checkout as well as any subsequent renewals that happened. But we do have a way on the back end to distinguish sort of primary checkouts from renewals. So in this mock-up of this report, you're able to, again, differentiate between the two.
So the reports that were shown in the beginning are including renewals, and then you'd use the filters to get rid of them? Sorry, it's kind of
Um,
Yeah,
no,
that
no,
makes
it's a
sense.
good question.
That makes sense.
For the demo, I had the renewals deactivated right from the
Okay.
start.
All right, that's what I was wondering. Okay, thanks.
Question, and sorry if you already said this, one of my staff came in and talked to me, so I might have missed it, but are the items that are being checked out, is there any way to know if they're like holds or not? Were they all like originally available items? Or no, I wasn't sure if this was maybe something to say for the I wonder part or not.
I think that should be one for your I wonder. So
Okay.
currently there isn't a dimension or a filter to say only look at things like to distinguish, right? Because that's a big
Mhm.
difference. Do the checkouts come from browsing or do they come from a whole?
Mhm.
So currently there isn't that ability as far as at least from kind of Mieko's demo. So that would be
Okay.
a great thing to put in your I wonder.
Okay.
Okay, pausing for any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna have you just take like let's just say 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes to gather your thoughts and then complete the form that I'm gonna pop into the chat. We are asking if you can just share kind of what you like about it. So like, what are you really excited about that you saw today? What you wish. So, what after first glance, what do you wish maybe that we could change or what could we have done differently? And then what you wonder, like, what are your possibilities? List out kind of your questions that you have, share your ideas about what you might like the tool to do. Oh, we don't have form permissions. Oh no, let me change that. So again, your ideas for what kind of your dreams, what you would want to see if we make improvements. So let me go ahead and change the permission. I apologize. Okay. All right. Hopefully that updated it for you. Let me just pop that link again, just in case it changes. Okay, awesome. Sounds like you can now get in. So go ahead again, take like 5 minutes. Maybe let's do 7. We'll kind of come back in at 10:40, and if you're willing to share some of your thoughts at that time, we'll kind of go over them as a group. So again, go ahead, fill out that form with what you like, what you wish, what you wonder, and we'll come back together in about 7 minutes. All right, it is 10:40. So I see responses trickling in to that forum. So thank you all so much for taking the time to do that. But I thought we'd just come back together as a group and see if anyone has any additional questions or things you might want to see me go demo in the tool, or if anyone would be able to just chime in and share what they put down for any of the three, the I like, the wishes, or your wonders.
I can share my I wonder, kind of along with what my question was earlier. I wonder if there's a way to filter what the item's status was before it was checked out, whether it was available or ready to pick up. So that way we can know if it was a hold or an item that came off the shelf, because both of those could be really helpful to know for like staffing purposes.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good feedback. And could give some insights again into just what time do people just come pick up their holds at? Are they coming after work? Are they coming on the weekends? Or, when is your browsing busiest? And that might be, again, good to inform programs, staffing of refilling displays, etc. Michelle said in the chat, she didn't notice how far back in the past you could look at this data. So right now in sort of this prototype, again, it's just our first shot at putting something together. I believe it's only a week of data. But we know libraries would probably be interested in some historical data. I don't know what is possible yet for Bob. Bob's here listening to all of your feedback, so I know he's probably frantically taking some notes. What we heard from the circulation advisory group was that they would like at least to go back a year. So we've taken that feedback into account, and if you have thoughts on how far would be most valuable to you, like pop them in the chat or unmute and let us know. And Bob, you can chime in and say what's realistic if you want to. Silence from Bob. Oh, there he is.
Yep.
Go ahead, Bob.
So we have data that dates back to May of 2018. And potentially we could go back that far. It would be a matter of testing the tool, with that amount of data as to what is practical for the tool to handle.
That makes sense. So in terms of like volume of data, the tool might not be able to hold the past 6 years of data, but it seems like in the chat, staff hearing some 1 year would be good just to kind of get like a bigger picture. But if we could, we would like to go back a little bit farther. 3 to 5 years. I'm hearing from Anne, Emily, kind of pre-COVID 2019 would be maybe useful to see like pre-pandemic numbers to current and maybe look at how has usage changed. And Anne's saying 3 to 5 years could be interesting if we really are looking at long-term trends. It depends on the questions that you're trying to answer, which again, this is just the first time you've seen it. So you may not know what questions you would want to use it to yet. But this is really, again, useful just to hear any questions you have here as we're looking to make changes and updates. Any other feedback anyone wants to share? Okay, well, we're going to leave the form up. So if you maybe have a coworker who wasn't able to attend and wants to watch the recording of the demo, you can have them fill out this form to share their feedback. If you have additional thoughts that come up after you leave this meeting, feel free to just update your response or submit another one to the survey, and we'll use that survey to kind of document all the feedback that we're getting. Nancy asks, when might the tool be ready? We don't have an official deadline for the tool, but I believe kind of our internal deadline that we set was within 6 months. This is a big project, and this is really just the first iteration of the tool. So we've got a lot of work to do still on it. So within 6 months to a year. So not something that's going to be coming this summer. It's going to be a bit of a wait, but consider this your sneak peek and your preview. Becky says in the chat, this is cool and a great idea. So thank you for putting this together. So Bob, shout out to you. We're looking forward again to working on this, and hopefully we'll have an update for this group in the coming months. All right, Sam, I'll turn it back to you then.
All right, thanks, Deborah. That does look like a really interesting tool, and I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around what I would be using it for, but there's plenty of opportunities. So that does actually bring us to the end of the agenda as it stands for today's meeting. So are there any additional business items that anyone would like to discuss before we officially wrap up? Sounds like no. So then I guess hearing none, I adjourn the PAS Technical Services meeting at 10:46 a.m. The next meeting is September 19th. So see you all again in a few months. Thanks so much.
Thanks everybody so much. We appreciate it.